Welcome to the first impression and look of S20 and S20 Ultra. So Samsung Unpacked event is today. There is a lot of stuff being announced today and we'll get to all of it eventually. But we're gonna look at two new things, S20 and S20 Ultra. And they look just like the leaks. You might have seen some of those two huge phones coming in three colors: bronze, black and white, with mystic finish which will hopefully hide fingerprints. And they share a lot of things with previous Galaxy Notes, but there are a lot of new features here. And since there are two new phones, S20 and S20 Ultra, in this video I'm gonna talk about S20 Ultra because it has a lot of new features. So let me get specs out first. They are top-notch Snapdragon 865 Plus, up to 12 GB of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. You have to pay extra $150 to bump up to 512 GB version. Otherwise, it still has the micro SD card expansion slot and 4500 mAh battery inside, and triple camera setup which we will get to a second, and a gigantic 6.9 inches 1440p 120Hz Super AMOLED display with a hole punch cutout on front. It is a curved display from edges, which I don't find very interesting. But one big problem is, for the price of, I have not told you yet, this phone starts at $1,300. Even for all that money, you can use it at its highest frame rate and highest resolution at the same time, just like S20 Ultra. But you can run it at 120Hz with 1080p resolution. S20 Ultra looks premium, especially with the new bronze color. It's still boxy, the bezels are impossibly thin, and just with the aesthetics, matte bezels and mystic finish, it is just luxurious. I mean, you look at this thing, it's premium, it is just great. Now let's check the cameras. The round rectangular bump with the triple cameras in it is absolutely massive, just like S20 Ultra. I think it looks thicker. It's just a giant raised slab. Basically, it's more refined, more pleasing and looks clean than the S20 Ultra. But anyway, inside this bump, you have main camera which is 108 megapixel, 12 megapixel ultra wide and another 12 megapixel telephoto camera. And in fact, this time the telephoto lens is actually periscope lens, allowing you 5x optical zoom and 50x digital zoom. It is also capable to record 8K video, and it is still not gonna record from the main sensor, but from 64 megapixels telephoto camera. If you are liking this video so far, consider subscribing and liking to this video. The S Pen is moved over to the left side of the phone, and this year it makes a huge jump forward with the latency. So latency is a time delay between the cause and the effect of some physical change in the system being observed, like time between touching the screen and that to register. So the latency of S Pen was around 42 ms all the way up to last generation Note, but this time they've gotten it down to 9 milliseconds. So about the fifth of the time, it is basically arrived at the level of the other competitors like Apple Pencil. So now there is actually zero gap between time of pen and what I'm writing. It feels like I am actually writing directly on a notebook, and this is great for S Pen users, not just for writing, also for maneuvering around the OS. It just feels like the great update. So this is S20 Ultra, and again this is ultra premium top tier device, $1299 for base variant. But then there is also Note 20, the non-ultra one. It's a confusing device. It cuts a lot of things from Note 20 Ultra on paper. I know there's a lot. You would think this is going to be a significantly less expensive phone, to be more cheaper, accessible. No, it starts at $999. First time picking it up, you may not notice those cut-downs from Ultra. It still has the bronze color, same texture, and it's lighter in weight than Note 20 Ultra. Lighter because it goes the plastic, not glass. And the display, it's still great colors, brightness, but it's 1080p and 60Hz. Smaller 6.7 inches and it is flat. But now it also has the slightly bigger camera cutout on front and slightly bigger bezels. Let's take a look on specs. same processor, 8GB RAM and 128 gigs of storage with no micro SD expansion slot. S Pen is still here but not with the same blazing 9 millisecond latency. Instead, it cuts it down to 26 millisecond of latency, which is still pretty good, and also slightly smaller 4300 milliamp hour battery, and a camera zoom maxes out at 30x, not 50x. It's good to me, and who use 50x zoom? And camera bump is not that massive here, but there is something about the price when you are asking $1,000 but you are giving 1080p display at 60Hz and a
plastic back.
128 gigs of non-expandable storage doesn't sound good to me and doesn't feel quite up to the money. You have many better options for this price. You have OnePlus 8 Pro or Galaxy S20. These are the phones which cost less money and give actually more features, and the one reason you may get Note 20 is basically of S Pen. Some people will want the stylus. Samsung knows that and not have some exclusive stuff like Samsung DeX. I'm just curious how many people will buy not for that DeX or S Pen, or they just go for a cheaper device like S20 or OnePlus 8 Pro. Let me know in the comments. Hey, subscribe is free.